Uh, Public hearing is now closed. Any comment or suggestion from the guys?
I do.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you. Um,
Go
Can you
ahead.
hear me? Okay. There seems to be some confusion about payback or no, non-payback of these grants. Last year, we had a beautification program, and there was a resolution passed, and there was discussion. The discussion at our council meeting, because I went back and watched it, and Councilman Bieneme, our city attorney, our manager, and myself all discussed the fact that any grants given to these properties were to be paid back. If you lived in the city for 7 years, it was forgiven. Every year that you lived there, it was forgiven 1/7. It was prorated. And that is what we discussed, and that is how we voted. And there seems to be some confusion on behalf of the public, the staff, because everybody seems to think that this is a no payback grant for Councilman Bieneme's district. And now we have the same issue tonight. If Councilwoman Sterile wants to give her 100,000 to 10 individuals, I will concede to Councilwoman Sterile. But I would like to make it clear tonight that if we're going to do it the same way, that these 10 grants or these grants be repaid by the people. Not just give that to the, not just fix up their houses for free. If they live there for 7 years, they don't have to pay it back. But if they turn around and we've given them money and they sell their house in the next year or two, they have to pay the city back. They don't get to benefit from our tax dollars. So I want it a lot more clear on this resolution this evening, because the program is identical. Thank you.
Are you making a motion or you making a suggestion?
I'll make a motion, but I would like it to be clear that these are payback grants.
There's already a motion and a second on the floor.
This motion.
The motion was made by Councilwoman Sterrill. It was seconded by Councilman Galvin.
Sorry.
Oh,
I would just like it to be clear that these are paid back
which one?
loans. These
Why
loans.
why
were
don't you
given.
make it in the form of a friendly amendment to the motion, if you want?
And I would like to make a friendly amendment that these loans,
With this loan, that one? The 100 grand?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
this one, that that if we're going to do this beautification program with this $100,000, that these loans are paid back they're free after 7 years.
May I? I heard that you mentioned that's how it was with the first item that we discussed a couple of weeks ago.
No,
And the discussion
No.
that I
No.
had with the city manager, all I ask is that my constituent has been complaining about District 4 $800,000 in the beautification program. And when I met with the city manager, I did not give him any guideline. I didn't suggest anything. All I asked him is just to present to this body exactly the same thing that we up here voted for District 3. So whatever that you, as the city attorney, had in for District 3, that's what I'm asking for. Isn't it?
The same guidelines.
So I'm not asking
I
for
think-
for anything extra, but what we up here actually voted for District
Okay.
3.
Well,
Do you
we-
have
So
that
that's what I'm
language
asking.
in the previous resolution?
The previous resolution,
I have a
We
copy of
don't.
the
But
resolution.
what we need to understand
No, no,
tonight.
no, no, I ask him a
oh, sorry.
question, please let
Okay.
him answer.
yeah, there was the discussion was actually on November 12, 2014 on the 800,000. And on the same issue was pertaining to the 800,000, Councilwoman Keys actually brought up the guidelines, and I outlined that the present federal guidelines, which is the HUD guidelines, is a 7-year payback period guidelines. When I say payback, if the house is sold within that 7-year period, depending on the time the resident spends in that house, it will be prorated if the house is sold. And I have the verbatim minutes here that I'm looking at, and it was voted on. It was voted on for District 3.
Was that part of the resolution?
Is that,
And
That was not in the resolution,
That's what I'm saying.
though.
No,
That
it
was
wasn't.
part of the discussion?
That's part of the discussion, yes.
But
Was it amended?
no,
I didn't see an
No.
amendment.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
what we are trying to do with the beautification program is to reward long-time residents. We're not giving money to investors. As a matter of fact, the investors in the city doesn't like those type of programs because by doing so, we're helping real families to live in the city. What we are doing is rewarding people, long-time residents and of the city of North Miami. And investors, all they want is people, and they cannot afford to fix their home. They're gonna leave, go rent somewhere else, and they're gonna buy it, fix it, and sell it and make money. By doing so, we are rewarding long-time residents of the city,
That's
and
not-
we are addressing your problem.
That's
and
not
and
one of the requirements, is
and,
that they be a long-time owner.
they cannot go out and just sell it after a year, after a few months. Just we spend $10,000, and after that they turn.
I agree.
Because by using the odd guideline,
The HUD
we're
guidelines.
looking at poor people making I'm not gonna say the
No, the
yeah,
qualification
yeah,
criteria
the
is below
qualification
the poverty line.
with the
Yeah.
exactly with the qualification. We are looking at real residents in need of those programs. We're not looking at investors, people who can just go and buy a house and get 10,000 from the city, fix it, and sell it after that. We're not going after those people.
So the prior, I apologize.
Go ahead, go ahead.
The prior resolution and guidelines were not amended to reflect that it was going to be a loan. So it sounds like if you would like for this particular,
It was not clear one way or the other. It said it was a grant. It didn't say whether it was a payback grant or a no payback grant, but we did have discussion. I asked questions about it, and the attorney advised that it would be a payback loan after 7 years. We had a whole discussion on it.
It was a discussion item. It was not vote.
And then we
And if when
voted
the
on it.
amendment didn't come up with that.
The amendment was silent. It could go either way. So we discussed it to clarify it. Before we voted on it, we were told it would be a payback loan.
This is a resolution.
And, it's just too unclear. It's a lot of money.
Did you have something to say?
I just wanted
No,
to
we-
clarify it
Hmm?
this evening.
Okay,
We're only working on the 100,000. You are
yeah.
yeah.
Do we have the friendly amendment reflected?
No, Mayor, all I have is a motion and a second.
As you had it for District 3.
All I have on the floor is a motion and a second. The motion was made by Councilwoman Sterrill. It was seconded by Councilman Galvin.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to respectfully withdraw my second if the councilwoman is not open. I apologize. If anybody in the back can turn up the volume on these so that we don't have to shout into them. I respectfully withdraw my second to this if the councilwoman is not open to a friendly amendment. If she wants it as is, I withdraw my second.
And let me second the motion, but with just a clarification. The money doesn't belong to Councilwoman Still. She's leaving. The money belongs to the city and the resident of District 4. Whoever come on board in 2 weeks and can always come up with an amendment, said, this is what we want to do with the money. That's when we're not voting to give $100,000 to just Councilwoman Maria Ellen Sterrill. It's money that's going to be allocated to District 4 and the residents of District 4 and whoever come on board in about 2 weeks.
So with regards to tab E, I have a motion made by Councilwoman Sterrill, a second made by Councilman Bieneme. Mayor, would you like a roll call vote?
Go ahead.
Councilman Galvin?
No.
Councilwoman Sterrill?
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme?
Yes.
Mayor Joseph?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keys?
No.
Item passes 3-2. Tab F, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, designating 134th Street from Northwest 7th Avenue to Northwest 10th Avenue to be known as Red and Joyce Mumford Avenue, authorizing the city manager to allocate and expend the necessary funds to cover the costs for signage and do all things necessary to effectuate the designation, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. That is tab F.
Any staff presentation?
No, actually, it's sponsored by Councilwoman Sterrill. I believe this item came before, but this is actually, sorry, Councilwoman Keys. This item came before this council already. This is just approval of the signage for that section of the street. I believe when it came up, Councilwoman Sterrill had talked about the location of the street being in her district and is actually from 7th to 10th Avenue. But this is where the resident lives, and I believe it's a long-time resident in the city of North Miami. That's the information that I have.
Yes, Joyce and Red Mumford were both very active in the community, gave their lives to the city of North Miami.
Can we listen to the public first?
Sure. Anyway, we had already voted for this, so this
Oh.
is just confirming the location.
The signage, sorry.
Any comment from the public? Public hearing is now closed. Why did you sit down?
Silvia Mayola, Northeast, 124th Street. And I don't understand certain thing. You vote 3-2, then it's approved. And what about us? We don't have voice? Is what I want to know.
We are now on tab I.
Yeah, but we don't have voice, people who talks here.
We are now on tab F. F or I?
F.
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 I don't think it's right.
Okay.
At all.
Public hearing is still open for tab F.
Carol, could you just please explain who Red and Joyce Mumford are for us, those of us who don't know?
Red Mumford, I did not know personally. I've heard many great things of him over the years. Joyce Mumford, I worked with as a community activist. She was a member of many different societies, president, treasurer, attended all meetings, attended our council meetings. Just a very active lady in the city of North Miami. And I believe she lived on this particular street for 34 years. If you would look at the package, there's a whole bio in it. And she passed away this past year. Annie can probably give us a better.
Annie Montgomery, 2082 Laurel Lane. Joyce Mumford was such a strength to our city. She attended every meeting here. She belonged to several societies, including the Orchid Society, and I can't name all of the ones. She was 34 years in her home with her husband. Her daughter will want to be here for the dedication of the streets. She's going to fly in, so I am all in favor of this award, or this acknowledgement of Joyce Mumford and her life. Thank you.
Carol Prager, Arch Creek East. The Mumfords, as city activists, were legendary. They showed the way. They taught us all how to do it. They did it with grace. They did it with dignity. They did it with respect. And all of us should be as well known at the end of our run as the Mumfords are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Judy Brown, Northwest 128 Terrace, 11th Avenue. I am trying to stand on the shoulder of Joyce Mumford. As the homeowner president of Sunkist Grove, when I was a very young woman and just moved into the community, it was Red Mumford. I never forget his carrot top would always come by my house and pick me up for the meeting. And I cannot say enough about Red and Joyce. And Scott was over on our side of the neck of the woods. These two individuals have welcomed countless people of all ethnicity in our district. And I think it would just be an honor for us to name that street for her because they really, really, really loved North Miami.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kevin Burns, 2065 Alamanda Lane Drive, excuse me. Many of you already sitting up there knew Joyce very well, but her husband, Red, a lot of people didn't know. But he is the one working with John Stembridge and Claude Pepper who actually saved Pepper Park. He worked tirelessly to grab that land and to turn it into a public space for all of us. The community activists, when it was a much wider area, wider is what I said, wider, where there wasn't a lot of development out there yet, really made sure that there was parks. Even Kiwanis Circle was had his fingerprints on it. And so true visionary of what the future of North Miami should have looked like. And they never asked for anything in return. Very humble people, never seek the limelight, and they just stayed put in their house for 34 years until each one of them passed away at their homes. Many times I've disagreed with naming streets after individuals. Some we know, some we don't. But these are two individuals that are very, very deserving of it because they have really contributed greatly to North Miami. Thank you very much.
All right, public hearing is now closed. The members of
Good evening, Joanne Antoine, 910 Northwest 134th Street. I have two questions. First thing, is the street name just being changed, or is that going to be affecting the postal service as well?
Just the street name.
Just the street name? Okay, and have the residents been made aware prior to this? Because I haven't got anything in the mail of changing of the names or updating this name.
I don't believe they have been aware because it's the agenda. Oh, so I'm sorry, they have been. The agenda has been published and it's online with the location from 7th to 10th Avenue. So it's a correction.
So
the residents have been aware. It's in the Miami Herald when the agenda was published, and also the Daily Business Review.
Okay, so the only options is through newspaper. What about those that don't read the newspaper? Has there been any means of communications differently?
Yeah, that's what the law requires. We have to publish our council meeting in a paper of general circulation, and we also do so online, and we also place it in the lobby of City Hall and the community centers in the library. But that's what the law requires, that we, and it's the Daily Business Review.
Sorry.
That's our main paper. And in addition, we also advertise in the Miami Herald.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, no, you're welcome.
William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I didn't expect to speak toward this, but just one clarification. In terms of name changing, it's really a name supplement, is it not, to the address? Is it typically it's the existing address, and then it's sort of an honorary title in addition to it on a street sign? Is that
That's correct. Actually, that's just that short section. It does not affect your postal zip code or the numbering on the street. The only thing is that that designation within the 7th to 10th. It's just a designation between those two sections, from 7th Avenue to 10th Avenue.
So all the citizens that exist on that stretch can still use their same numbers, their same house numbers, same
Nothing
street
else
numbers,
changes.
Nothing else changes. It's
It is
sort
just
of
a
somewhat
designation.
ceremonial.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that. Thank you.
Hello, Peggy Boulay, 300 Northwest 125th Street. I think she's speaking also in terms of celebrating Miss Mumford. I don't think she's speaking against it or anything like that or trying to create any complications. She's my little cousin, and I encourage her and my other cousins to be a part of this meeting because we lack the presence of our young people in these meetings, and I think we should encourage them to continue coming by all means necessary. So in saying that, I wanted to clarify one of her questions, and I think it's just in terms of wanting to celebrate Miss Mumford as well. She wanted to know if the residents were made aware of this by way of maybe leaflets or other means of media outreach. So that's to clarify her question.
Actually, in the past, let me clarify. In the past, when we have any designation or street designation, after the street signage has been bought, there's actually a ceremony at the location. At that point, the residents would be informed, and there's a short ceremony that we do for the residents in that block, together with the mayor and council is also invited to those designation ceremonies.
Okay,
So that's the same process we're going to be using.
okay, thank you.
Right, public hearing is now closed. Let's proceed with, oh no, the members of the dais.
I just echo what a lot of people said. I did know Red and Joyce both individually and personally. I served with them on the then West Side Property Owners Board of Directors many moons ago, and they were a truly joyful couple and very deserving of this community's remembering their legacy.
Anything else?
No, we're moving to take a vote.
Mr. Clerk?
I don't have a motion, I don't have a second.
Oh, I move it.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Sterrill. It was
Second.
seconded by Mayor Smith Joseph. This is in fact a resolution. Anyone who wishes to record a no, item passes 5-0. Tab G. G is in God. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council, the city of North Miami, Florida, adopting the whole community's approach to emergency management. Miami-Dade County communities organized to respond in emergencies. North Miami, MD, Corps, MNM, to coordinate the efforts to enhance emergency planning, preparedness, and response times while identifying and integrating the efforts of the board cross-section of faith-based and other community groups as organized by Miami-Dade County under the principles established by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Staff?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is in front of you because FEMA has the whole community concept to emergency management. And this concept was adopted by Miami-Dade County, who started working on it since 2011. And Miami-Dade County developed what is called the core Miami-Dade County, that engage all the different groups, nonprofit organization, homeowner, and the faith-based community to work together so that we prepare to respond to any emergency. Now, Miami-Dade County program is adopted nationally, and they open the program to every municipality in Dade County. And North Miami bring that resolution. That resolution is brought in front of you so that you adopt it. We can go ahead and follow the county footstep and have the North Miami core program.
Public hearing is now open. Public hearing is closed. Members of the dais?
I have a question, please. Okay, by voting for this resolution, will the city be expected to spend any money to implement this?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Clerk?
We move it?
You want to say something?
No, did we move the?
There was no motion?
I need a motion in a second. I have a motion from Councilwoman Sterrill. I don't have a second.
I second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Sterrill, seconded by Mayor Joseph. Anyone who wishes to record a no? The resolution passes 5-0. Tab H, proposed ordinance, second reading, of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 15 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Personnel, Pension, and Retirement by amending Article 5 entitled North Miami Police Pension Plan to comply with the Internal Revenue Code by amending Section 15-101 Death Benefits. Amending Section 15-101 Definitions, Section 15-103 Miscellaneous Provisions, Section 15-132 Death Benefits, and Section 15-137 Direct Transfers of Eligible Rollover Distributions, providing for repeal, conflicts, severability, codification, and an effective date. That is tab H.
Well, this is second reading,
Second reading, yes.
so we've had long,
No staff present.
just, nothing from staff?
No, we have, I think all the presentations was done at the last meeting. Basically, what it is guidelines from the Internal Revenue Service for the city to be compliant, the city's pension plan to be compliant. They have already audited the plan, and the suggestions that are being made or implemented in this ordinance is for compliance with the IRS ruling. There's no or zero impact to the pension plan, which is the 748 plan.
Public hearing is now open. Public hearing is closed.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Vice Mayor Keys, seconded by Councilman Galvin. Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keys,
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme, Councilwoman Steril. Tab H passes 5-0. Tab I. Proposed ordinance, second reading of the Mayor and City Council, of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 15 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Personnel, Pension, and Retirement by amending Article 4 entitled Claire T. Singleman Employees Retirement System to comply with the Internal Revenue Code by amending Section 15-85.1 Military Service Credit, Contributions for Military Service, Section 15-93 Death Benefits, and Section 15-98 Direct Transfers of Eligible Rollover Distribution, providing for repeal, conflicts, severability, codification, and for an effective date. Tab I.
Similarly, this is the same with the police pension. This is the 691, the Claire T. Singerman pension plan for the general employees of the city. We also have a letter from our actuary, which, I'll just read one line. In our opinion, these changes have no significant actuary impacts to the pension plan. And I think that's the gist of it. There's zero impact or fiscal impact to the city. It's just for compliance with the new IRS ruling per the audit.
All right, public hearing is now open, and public hearing is closed. Any motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Vice Mayor Keys, seconded by Councilman Galvin. Councilwoman Steril, how do you vote? Mayor Joseph,
Yes.
Councilman Galvin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keys,
Yes.
and Councilman Bieneme. Item passes 5-0. Tab J. Recommendation to name Dr. Rudy Moyes to the North Miami Citizens Hall of Fame.
I'll move approval if nobody wants to talk about it.
I second. I was waiting for the mayor to say.
No, I'm not sure whether it's a resolution or a discussion item, so. Okay, go ahead. The public hearing is now open. Public hearing closed.
Motion was made by Councilman Galvin and was seconded by Councilwoman Steril. Motion to approve tab J. Anyone who wishes to record a no. Item passes 5-0. Tab K, discussion regarding Waste Pro contract on recycling.
Mr. Mayor, and I put that for discussion. Can we table that item until the next council? For next council? Unless,
That's fine.
that's fine? Yeah.
Motion was made by Councilman Bieneme to table this item. That particular motion was seconded by Councilwoman Steril to table tab K. Anyone who wishes to record a no.
Mr.
To the
Mayor,
next
just,
council, for next
To the next
council.
council meeting, right?
Yeah.
so it's actually a motion to continue to the next
Yeah,
council meeting.
continue, right,
Because
yeah.
tabling is indefinite,
moving it to the
continuing is
next-
to a time
Continue.
specific.
So let me repeat the language. The motion was made by Councilman Bieneme
To continue.
to continue this item till next council meeting. That motion was seconded by Councilwoman Steril. Anyone who wishes to record a no. Item has been continued to the next council meeting. Thanks, God. All right.
Just one thing to keep in mind, the next council meeting would be actually May 12th, when the election results.
We're not.
So it's gonna be in the
So
next
it
meeting.
actually, the actual council
The
meeting will
next
be.
formal meeting.
Formal meeting would be
Yeah,
on May
June.
20,
No.
May 24th or 20.
24th is going to
May
be the
26th.
swearing.
May
26, sorry.
It's going
May
to be the
26.
swearing.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay.
May 26th is the election. May 12th is the election. May 26th is the swearing-in ceremony. And again, if we have this, yeah,
So
if we
next
have this
formal
item,
meeting,
people are-
next
Next
formal
formal.
meeting.
Next formal.
Okay, yeah, next formal meeting.
Next
Who
formal,
knows,
okay.
There might be a runoff, and so we don't have a swearing in until after June the
Yeah.
4th or whatever.
I
that
just
is,
wanted
so-
to make it clear that we're putting off this item for more than a month, most likely.
Next formal meeting. Call Rachel for me.
What do
Just to clarify the record, item K has been continued till the next formal meeting. And that's how it's going to be
Yeah.
written on the minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now ready for citizens forum. Anything you wanna say, come to the mic, and that shall be heard.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Luciano Isla. I'm an attorney at law with law offices at 6625 Miami Lakes Drive East, Suite 424, Miami Lakes, Florida. I'm a former bag boy at the food fair store on East 125th Street and 8th Avenue. And look what I turned out to be. It is a wonderful, wonderful privilege and an honor to always come to the city of North Miami, especially in the summer, especially on rainy days. It always has been. The purpose that I'm here this evening is that I would like to clarify for the record that notwithstanding the fact that the city has granted WastePro an exclusive franchise agreement for residential, solid waste, and recycling, and for commercial solid waste, that but for the requirements of the statute, and I have shared the statute with your good city manager and your city attorney, whereby you cannot exclusively franchise commercial recycling. You cannot exclusively franchise recovered materials. In the same token, Chapter 9 of the city ordinances permits the non-exclusive franchising of construction and demolition debris and roll-off. This was to be a second reading of an ordinance in which Councilwoman Keys asked some clarification. This ordinance is not before you today, notwithstanding, because of the closeness and the nearness of May 1st, which is a date that has been thrown around as the changeover date. And if I may say, as I indicated earlier, it has been my privilege since 1998 to have represented the Dade Waste Haulers Council, which is a nonprofit organization of recyclers, recovered material dealers, construction and demolition debris, and also solid waste haulers. But we understand the exclusivity of WastePro as far as waste is concerned, both residentially and commercially. But again, as I have indicated before, that I will be done in a minute, Mr. Mayor, if I may, that pursuant to state statute 403.07, correction, 403.7046 at parentheses 3, a local government may not enact any ordinance that prevents a dealer, recovered resources material dealer, recycler, from entering into a contract with a commercial establishment to purchase, collect, transport, process, or receive source-separated recovered materials. So, as part of your Citizens Forum today, and to continue the good relationship that we've had with the city, and recognizing what I said earlier, I suggest to you that we do get a clarification that the continuation of commercial recycling, commercial recovered materials, dealers, construction, demolition, debris, and roll-offs are not in contravention of Chapter 9 of your ordinances and not in contravention or in opposition to the exclusive franchise that you've granted to WastePro. So I would ask for a clarification on that. I have met with the staff, and I have shared this opinion with them.
I'm
Thank
sorry,
you very much.
whom do you represent again?
I represent, Mr. Mayor, the Dade Waste Haulers Council, a Florida nonprofit organization of recyclers, recovered material dealers, and construction demolition debris roll-off companies.
Okay.
You don't have to respond.
Okay, now I was gonna ask you.
Hmm?
I was gonna ask the city manager just a question, very
Go ahead.
important about that. And from what I understand, Mr. City Manager,
Yeah.
and as of May 1st, right, the franchisee, which is Westport, not gonna take over the commercial recycles,
No, not the recycling.
not the commercial recycle.
Or recovered materials dealers, or the construction and demolition debris roll-off.
No. It's gonna be only the
Now,
commercial
remember, we
garbage.
just continued this item, right?
Only the solid waste.
Yeah.
The commercial waste
Okay.
will continue to remain with WastePro. We don't have any argument with that.
Yeah.
And the residential waste and the residential recycling will continue to be with WastePro. There's no argument on that. It's only the commercial recycling, recovered materials, C&D, and roll-off. That will be pursuing, continuing, if I may, just for 1 minute, Mr. Mayor. It will continue to pay to the city a 20% franchise fee based on Chapter 9 of the ordinance, and as your good city attorney, Ms. Monastic, indicated to me, special permits for non-exclusive franchisees will be appropriately set out. And we thank you all very much. Madam, I thank you for the courtesy of coming in front of you, and my compliments to your beautiful linen outfit.
Okay, public hearing, citizens forum is still open.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Evan Ross, 1941 South Oak Haven Circle. I realized sitting in the back that because you won't have another council meeting in 2 weeks because of the election, that tonight is Pam Solomon's last meeting with the city, and I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge her. I think she started here when I was starting kindergarten, and I don't
5
know-
years ago?
10.
Sorry.
Trust
Trust me, Evan, they did this to me for years. So,
and I expect it to be done to me for years, particularly from you. But I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge her and the tremendous work that I've seen her do in the time that I've been around North Miami. I know that no one here is happy to see her go, but everyone is happy to see her continue to advance in her career. And I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge her and thank her. And I'm assuming she's sitting in her office watching, because I don't think she's gone home since she started working here.
She's here.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Citizens forum is now, I guess it's now open.
Good evening, Council, Mayor Smith Joseph. My name is Jessica Alston. I live at 1140 Northwest 125th Street in Sunkist Grove. I'm a candidate for councilwoman seat in District 4. I stand here to congratulate Scott Galvin and to say to you publicly how highly I regard and respect you for how you stand for your community, your district, always advocating for them in spite of sometimes some hostility in this room. I appreciate the strength that it takes in your ego and your love for your community that makes you do that. And I admire you for it, and I want to be just like you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. A few minor requests or suggestion in the future in terms of street change, name changes. It really isn't a name change. I think more often than not, it's a name supplement. And if we refer to that, it might take out some of the confusion that that goes with that. It's really not a change. It's a supplement. If it is a change, you should let us know, because it would really affect a lot of people should that happen. That's the first item. I'd also like to request that at the next meeting, where there will be some discussion on the waste pro matter or just trash hauling matter, regardless of who the hauler is, that that there be some sort of public presentation on the item prior to calling for citizen input, just to give us a little bit of the parameters. I'm not taking a position, but it would be nice to have an idea of what the relationship is of the city and our trash hauler. And the last item would be, we had a nice presentation on Public Works. I'd like to request of Public Works and or the city manager that when I see things like regrading streets, that we don't, as I've personally noticed before, that we do not take down, just because it's in a certain area or certain block, and we were told to do this, that they rip apart perfectly good paving patterns without any blemish at all, just to lay it down again. Not only to lay it down again, but when I said, have you pointed out where the low spots are, and they go, no, we just rip it up and we put it back down, it's an inane exercise. It's not good for the city, for the neighborhoods, or anything. If we are to rework the streets, please identify the low spots. Let's also identify the worst spots in the city, not necessarily just by district. Let's find the worst and work it from there. Let's prioritize our public works improvements and do it that way. Let's please not waste money into doing something that's not necessary. And finally, I'd like to congratulate the members of the council and city clerk who have do not have opposition. Congratulations. And I'd also like to thank Councilperson Daryl for her many years of service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Alita Rosenfeld again, Keystone Point. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Smith-Joseph. You seem to have done a wonderful job in your short tenure here, putting the city's interest over your own in cases where you could have benefited. You put the city interest first. I will be voting for you. Shameless plug. That should buy me an extra minute. I'd like to speak to the penalties that the city of North Miami seems to have incurred from unsubstantiated overseas travel expenses from some present and former employees. I know that the city manager, Mr. Ghani, was going after some of the present employees that had incurred those expenses that the city has absorbed. I'd like to suggest that we go after some former employees or anyone else that might have incurred these expenses from the IRS that the city and the citizens are paying for, if possible. I think that's fair and just. The second thing I'd like to speak to is, I'd love to see art in public places. If y'all could speak to our wonderful director of MOCA, Mr. Babakar. He's extremely knowledgeable. He's doing wonderful things and has wonderful plans for the city. And the last thing that came to my attention was that the White House Inn on 125th at the foot of the bridge, the Bay Harbor Bridge, appears to have been bought, and someone is appealing that area to be rezoned for possible commercial property for a Cadillac dealership. I don't know if that's accurate, but if any of that rumor is substantiated, I'd really like you to think twice and three times about putting any commercial venture there where the streets are completely overloaded. And there's just one more thing. I know you council people cannot speak for yourselves. Ms. Keys has been absolutely wonderful, always lending an honest and a helping ear to anybody that comes to her attention, as you have me, even though I'm not in your district. So I'd like to say I appreciate that. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Maria Lee, 12525 Northeast First Court, North Miami, 33161. My purpose to be here tonight, City Mayor, You don't have to worry. You're coming right back in that position. Don't worry. Have a night's sleep over it, because you will be back in that seat. Oh, Galvin and Keys, don't worry. You're there forever. Now my concern is on the street, all over. They're going to get rid of the mayor, the city council, the city manager. I wonder what's happening now. It's out in the street. They're going to get rid of you. What, you're too clean? You're too straight? Walk the straight and narrow way. Don't worry. This Jehovah God is in control. He is the I am, the great I am. Shalom, the peace of peace, the Prince of Peace, the great I am. When God puts you in a position, no man moves you. Oh, sweet Jesus, let me come over. When God puts you in a position, no man move you. We, the people, vote you in, but God put you there. Each and every one of you. So trust in God and do the right. Man, don't look one, don't look way, don't look there, look straight. Because they have a saying in Jamaica, the same knife that stick the sheep, when turn around and stick the goat. No goat will stick you if you go straight, and you will be in that seat for 2 terms. Don't worry, because God is in control. These are my few words in Jesus' name. And I greet you all with shalom, shalom. Peace, perfect peace into this dark world of sin. The blood of Jesus whisper, peace within. Good night. God bless you all.
Wow. I don't know about following that, but I'll try. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm coming to you as a member of the Library Board requesting additional funding if needed to complete the construction of the library. Our library helped transform lives by providing access to credible information for all the residents of our city. The library provides services for the oldest patrons as well as the youngest. And with the summer months vastly approaching, many of our children are in jeopardy of regressing 1 grade level in reading if they do not continue to read during the summer months. Like MOCA, the library is a diamond that we simply cannot allow its doors to remain closed. In closing, I urge the mayor and council and the residents to allocate funds as needed, so that the construction of the library will be complete and that the library will be reopened as planned. And my second thing is to come and I wish to publicly thank Chief Burgess and his officers and Derek, Department Director, Park and Rec Director, Mr. Coker, and his staff for the support that was given to the Sunkist Grove HOA Association in the efforts of putting on Meet the Candidate Night on last Thursday. It was a very successful event, and we had a really good showing for that. And I would like to publicly thank them for supporting us in that effort. Thank you.
Good evening again, Carol Prager, 2509 Northeast 135th Street. I'm here this evening speaking on behalf of the Casa Bella Villas Townhome Association, of which I'm president, and also for the Arch Creek East Neighborhood Association, which I am also president of. In the early morning hours of this past Saturday, we had an incident in the neighborhood behind our townhouses. My townhouses are located on the north side of 135th Street at the end of the street and is abutted by a state-owned mangrove. 2 large dogs caught and mauled to death over the course of some 20-25 minutes. A very large raccoon woke us all up. The dogs were running loose. There's a lot of speculation about what is happening with these 2 large dogs. I've gotten different stories from several neighbors in the neighborhood. We have a lot of condominiums. A lot of people own small dogs. They like to go into the preserve at the end of the street and walk their dogs. It's a social event as well as a mandatory relief event. And they're now speaking about people driving in from the neighborhood, outside the neighborhood, and letting their dogs run off lead in the preserve. These large dogs are very intimidating. Two in particular are shepherds that are unloaded from the back of a pickup truck, and they run into the preserve, and everybody in there is quite alarmed about that. We do have signage. Unfortunately, not everybody pays attention to it because everybody believes that their dog is a good dog. But dogs are animals, and they have instincts. And so what I'm trying to bring to your attention is we do have some kind of issue that has people in the neighborhood very alarmed. And so if we could have perhaps bicycle police or police out there in the early mornings when it's heavily trafficked, in the afternoons, there's certain hours. I'll certainly be glad to send an email to the city manager and the chief to let them know when the heaviest traffic is there. But that was pretty disturbing. It made its rounds through the neighborhood this weekend because it woke us up. It was a brutal thing to listen to. It was heartbreaking. I'd like to also speak compliments to a employee of Waste Pro who is a former employee of the city of North Miami, Mr. Darrell Baker. Mr. Baker is an outstanding civil servant, even though he's with the private sector now. He did show up Saturday to retrieve the carcass of the raccoon so that it wouldn't sit over the weekend in very high temperatures and decompose. But more importantly than that, whenever there is a incident or any kind of problem with collection on the street, he shows up very quickly. He's very respectful. He does a very good job, and I just wanted to share that with the city. And in closing, I'd like to say that I am most seriously heartbroken that Pam Solomon is leaving us. I'm very fond of her. I'm glad that she's going on to something better, but she's going to be greatly missed. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Howard Tonkin, 12600 Griffin Boulevard. Just to take a moment to thank you, Councilman Galvin, for bringing that list to the attention of the city. Sometimes it feels like in this city you'd have to be a member of some kind of secret society to get a meeting with you all. Just to add a couple of things, I was at a Enchanted Forest. It's so beautiful. It's like a world-class treasure in our city, and it's washing into the canal. It's completely needing of maintenance. It's getting overgrown with invasives. That park is desperate for funding. I went with a friend visiting from New York to Captain Jim's Seafood, and it was such a great representation of our city. It was a wonderful restaurant, and we walked outside, and my friend steps into a puddle that's big enough to drown a 5-year-old. I really feel like in this city it feels like this. If you're poor, you get lots of free stuff. You get windows, you get driveways. If you're rich, you live in a gated community and you don't have a lot to worry about. But if you're middle class, you better hurry up and fix your seawall. And it's really what it feels like. And we have so much infrastructure problems, and you keep talking about these like improvement programs. I think that you should take that $100,000 and identify all the people that are about to get flooded out of their homes in District 4, and you should buy them all a kayak. Thank you.
My name is Hector Medina. I live at 1270 Northeast, 124th Street. The first 11 minutes of this meeting was for the Pledge of the Legion and some kind of Christian prayer. My name here in the United States is Hector Medina, but my real name is Hector Luis Almedina de la Vega. The Pledge of the Legion, I don't believe in it, and I find it a waste of time, and it's also illegal. The Christian prayer you are going to hear, Al-Medina means city. It's the city where the Prophet Muhammad launched the attack and spread the Muslim religion. So you're going to have Christian prayer, you're going to have Muslim prayer, and you're going to have Jewish prayer, and whatever. That's a waste of time. 51 minutes were spent on a Haitian birthday with a centennial lady who could have dropped dead right there. She suffering from ischemia? Jesus. Then the Haitian flag in the museum Show them the American flag. This is America. Haitian food? Why not American food? Haitian water and sewage in Haiti? Who cares? We care about 120 feet. 120 feet is unpaved. You know how much money you save skipping 1 inch of pavement? The manholes are all destroying tires left and right. And for the last thing, the last time I was here, I told you that if you didn't do anything about the dry cleaner, I would. 5 days later, it was on the front page of the most distinguished, largest Latin newspaper in the United States. That's me. And he said that this place is tormenting the residents of this area. There's people who live 20 feet away from an industrial dry cleaner in a residential area. What is wrong? Close them out. They're breaking dozens of ordinances, city, state, and federal. What else you need? Close them down.
Citizens Forum is still open.
Hi, I'm Sarah McDevitt. I live at 14490 Northeast 10th Avenue. I just wanted to say regarding the pool, I'm so excited. Can't wait to see that money come and finally be invested in parks in our area, and sorely lacking a pool in the east side of the town. But one thing, I live right by there and I walk by there frequently. At one point, the fence had fallen down in the lot that's going to be developed. Kids are always looking for a way to cut across that lot and go to high school in the morning. There's kids cutting across trying to get over to the grade school. That park, or what should be a park, will have a big pool on it, and I'm very excited. But I think we also need to have a park in the area and a walkable passageway through that area to the schools. Let's not take this opportunity to make another nice, beautiful green space in our neighborhood and turn it into a fenced-off area. Let's try to leave some open green spaces along with this pool that we're going to develop when we're thinking about it. That's all. Thank you.
Good evening again. Joanne Antoine, 910 Northwest 134th Street. I just wanted to thank you all for not forgetting our senior citizens in our community, whether they're Haitian or not. But I also wanted to find out if there's any update on the road work that's being done on Northwest 2nd Ave between 135th Street and like 131st Street. Because there's like a lot of potholes and things that are unfinished on that road. Thank you.
I believe these two roads were being worked on by Public Works. They were doing some drainage, changing piping to larger diameters,
Right.
and it's just a matter of repaving them. So I don't know at what point we end.
The other sections of roadway that on 131, actually, there's a new force main that went in there. But I believe the section the resident is talking about.
Second Avenue Northwest.
Second is Miami-Dade section that they're doing some improvements. The one on 125th Street, that's also an FDOT improvement. They're actually doing some milling and resurfacing and changing out the ADA ramps. So we are actually in the process of lifting up the manholes and actually bringing it up to grade. So, you know, we ask the residents to bear a little bit of patience because, you know, this would be completed within the next 2 months. But again, we are working with FDOT and trying to get it completed.
Ms. Montgomery?
Annie Montgomery, 2082 Laurel Lane. I want to bring to the attention of our council, our mayor and council. I know our code enforcement is very well aware of it. Vacation homes, the short-term rentals that are happening all over this city. It is out of hand, and I would ask this council to have our attorney please look into how this can get changed. There are parties, 70 people at a resident, right next to you, Mayor Joseph or Aleem, every week. And people don't pay attention to it because it doesn't affect them personally. We finally got one closed on 124th Street at the end of my street. Really didn't affect me because I didn't hear the noise, but the 2-3 neighbors that live right there, they went through horrible experiences. It needs attention of this council. I know the manager is aware of it and has done a lot of work towards it, but we need to get this, some bite in this, that we can get rid of these vacation rentals or short-term rentals. And that our code enforcement is spending so much time answering these calls, it's unfair to them. So please, that's my request this evening. Thank you.
Regine, Ms. Regine, I think a couple of years ago, did we have the same problem? I think we have an ordinance that addressed that problem.
So we do have an ordinance on the books. However, the state has preempted short-term rental regulation. So if we were to amend our ordinance, then we could no longer regulate the short-term rentals in the city. That's the issue. There was some movement in the last state session where they were looking at amending the state statute, but apparently this session we haven't really seen any bills, and now nothing's happening in the state legislature. So I don't know whether the state's going to be looking at it in the coming year, but we can look at perhaps. Here's a difficulty. If we amend our state our ordinance, then
So
we
what
can
is
no
our- I'm sorry,
longer.
what is the ordinance that we have right now that addresses
so
that
let me-
problem? Because I know we did discuss that last year or 2 years ago.
Here is what the section that we can and we certainly do enforce says. It's section 5-1610, short-term rentals in residential districts. It shall be unlawful for the owner of a single-family dwelling unit, including townhomes, located in a residential zoning district to rent or lease the dwelling to another person for a period of 3 months or less, or to lease or rent the subject dwelling for more than 4 times in a 12-month period. The lease or rental of a single-family residential dwelling, including townhomes, more than 4 times within a 12-month period shall create a presumption that the owner is acting in violation of this section. So any property that violates this section, we do go after them and we do cite them. That's being done. If you recall, there was a list of grandfathered properties some time ago wherein I think probably now we have 7 or 8 properties still on that list, maybe a little less now, that are allowed to rent less than what's required here in the.
So in that case, we would have to use the noise or the nuisance ordinance in order
Which
to
is
regulate.
correct, which is what the code compliance department does. They do go out and they do ticket them and they do cite them for violating because all of the other code sections are applicable, so they can still write tickets and fine them for certain things. So that still does happen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
May I ask, hopefully, a 30-second follow-up?
Go ahead.
The city of Miami Beach recently passed a resolution. I got a copy of it like Thursday or Friday, so I've not had a chance to share it with you yet. But they have now regulated the ways that these homes can legally advertise by basically restricting the wild party website, come to my house, that kind of stuff. So I'll be sharing that with you sometime later in the week. Perhaps that's another tool we can use. I forget which resident brought it to my attention. Might have been Bob Pichon. And then I went to City of Miami Beach, got their resolution, and I'll share it with you.
Okay, great. Thank you.